Mike, defeat today and our relegation sealed. How are you feeling?
Gutted, really. Disappointed to let everybody down that's entrusted me to come and obviously get into the club. Been brought in to stop them getting relegated. So you've got to look at that as a failure on my behalf, definitely. And what we've had to work with and what people have done, I think from the club's point of view, they've been good as gold. You know, they're trying to pull money from left, right and centre to help us out, and so there's no complaints with the club. I think they've been good as gold. I've been sat in the stands today with the supporters because I'm unfortunately banned for this game and for Tuesday as well. And even listening to some of the fans that are, you know, still with the club, you know, fair play to them because they've been absolutely fantastic. And I think, you know, from my point of view, I've just got to apologise to the fans and the board and everybody who's supported me and, you know, entrusted me to get us out of this mess. And ultimately, I think we've been a little bit unlucky at times with injuries. I've never known a season with so many injuries, but we just haven't been good enough, and that, you know, that is the bottom line of it. And there's too many players that probably this level is nowhere near what they can play. Every one of the lads is a good lad off the pitch, got no problems with that, but are they sort of step 2, step 1 players? Probably not the majority of them.
Yeah, and on the field today, obviously not what we wanted, but was Owen Brain's goal scant consolation? Was it nice to see from Owen there?
Yeah, it's nice to see that. I mean, obviously we're looking at Owen for next season as well. We've got to give him some minutes. We've got Jamie Creed as well that we're going to give some minutes to on Tuesday night. Josh Barlow's going to get some minutes as well. So these are all players for next season. And you know, somebody like Jamie Creed, it's nice to have somebody like him come up through the youth setup and be given an opportunity. But you know, sometimes we're going to have to take one step back to take 2 steps forward. And I think that where the club are at the moment, with the resources that they've got and everything that's gone on with this season, it might be the best thing for us to go down and then really have a good go at, you know, getting back up next season, because it's you know, it's been tough. It's been really tough, and when we just can't say it's unlucky. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not. You know, the players have not been good enough, and at times, you know, we've got to look at myself as well, and you know, you question what you've done, and even though you've always got the best interests of the club at heart, did we get everything right? Probably not. So I'm not standing here saying it's all the players' fault, but I'm definitely saying, you know, I want to stay. The club are happy for me to stay. We're going to be carrying on, and I think we're going to right a few wrongs from this season. If I'm allowed to sign the players that I want, which I've already spoken to with Colin and Rich, and they've been very supportive, and you know, they want the best for the club as well. And they've basically said, you know, go out and get your players. So I know when you take over a team, they do quickly become your players, but I need to have 7 or 8, 9 of my players in that change room that I know are going to run through a brick wall for us. They're going to make sure that even if they're not playing very well, that they're at least going to be given 100%. So that's what you know, the calibre of player that we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, and you've been in the changing rooms for a long time there. Were you speaking specifically to certain people as a group? Was it more important to get a message across in that way?
Yeah, I think, you know, I've never been relegated as a player or a coach, and we needed to have a chat with the players, and it needed not to just come from me. It needed for them to have some involvement in it. You know, from little things like not talking enough on the pitch to not taking responsibility and where they're at and what they're doing. You know, it needs to be said. We need to say it needs to be said in the right manner. It's difficult sometimes when you've got a few emotions linked into the game, and you know, we were talking to supporters last week, and we know how much that feels. And you know, probably realistically, they've probably thought we're already down anyway. But there's ways and means of going down, and there's ways and means of just doing your best, you know, and you never know what's going to happen with the other results. But I just thought today they were sadly off it.
Yeah, and going off back onto today, what do you think what do you think went wrong out there?
Well, if you'd have looked at us at training, we were fantastic on Thursday night, and I very rarely come home to the wife and said, "Yeah, we trained really well today, and it looks all good, and we've got things covered, and we've got a little bit of a plan." And it's nice to be in that position, and then they turn around and put in a performance like that today, which I've asked them in the change rooms. Then I've said, when I've got to stand up in front of people, what do you expect me to say? Because I'm not defending that, and it's easy for me to say they're not my players, because the majority are not my players that I've brought in, but I don't want to make an excuse of that, because I've had them for the last 5 months. And by now they should know that we've got to have a certain amount of people who are just running around trying to put the opposition off, or tackle them, or push them, or whatever it's going to be. We just didn't even lay a glove on them, I didn't think, in the first half. So everything that needed to be said was basically said at half time. And perhaps there's a few unkind words, but perhaps there's we're a little bit out of order in what we're saying to them. But I'm not saying anything to you now that we haven't said to them, to their faces, because it's got to hurt, and it's got to mean something to the players. And I think that us included, as in the coaching staff, we have to take our responsibility and take it on the chin that we were not good enough this year. And I think we've been a bit unlucky with injuries at times, but other than that, we have not been good enough. And if ever that teaches us a lesson, we've got to make sure that recruitment next season, which will be starting as of tomorrow, that we're going to be recruiting and getting out and talking to people who are going to be getting us in that sort of playoff position, top 10, whatever it is, to get promotion for next year. And that has been echoed by Colin and Richard. So it's disappointing today, and I'm going to have to swallow this over the next 2 or 3 days. But what don't break makes you a little bit stronger. And for the lads that are staying next year, then we've got to make sure that they're the right calibre, they're the right character, as well as being a good footballer as well, which I don't think's been the case this year, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and with 3 games to go, and you mentioned there that you want to stay on and be committed to the club next season, what would you say to the fans, both short term and long term?
Yeah, I've got a 2-year contract anyway. I know Patrick said that I'd signed a 1-year contract, but I've actually signed a 2-year contract, which is an agreement with the club, and I'm happy to honour that as well. I just think that I've failed at this part of the job, which is saving them from getting relegated. So I personally, I'm keen to amend that, rectify it, and as long as we get the support from the club and the board of directors and the supporters as well, because I don't want to do this job if supporters don't want me to do it. But getting out there and talking to the supporters over the last few weeks, I've had quite a positive vibe back from them, which has been lovely. And even today, before the game, it's been great to talk to a couple of supporters and just say they're right behind me and that we want you to stay on. So that's lovely, and I really appreciate that. And I'm keen to do that. And like I said, I've got the 2-year agreement anyway. So from my point of view, I would be willing to stay for next year and put it right.